Hey folks, welcome back to the Practical Microservices stream. Today I'm a little late because I had a work meeting run up right against it. A book group. We're actually reading through the DevOps Handbook, which I think is a fantastic book, available wherever fine books are sold. No affiliate link there. I just really like the book. And so let's just get into things then. Switch scenes there. We had the meetup last night. Went really well. We talked about what snapshotting is and what would invalidate a snapshot, and then talked through what we've been working on in the stream for the past couple of weeks, getting these components to be snapshot capable. And we only worked through the composite component part of that right now. Just getting all my setup here. Did that a little bit on the fly this morning. So we'll get the recording for that put up after doing some editing. And of course, hopefully this will work. Nightbot, come to my rescue here. Yeah, so on Nightbot's message there, we post the recordings on the YouTube channel that we created for the meetup. And so go there and check that out when we have it. One really neat thing that came out of it was I finally used, so Aaron Jensen of the Eventide community, he made this thing called the MessageDB Viewer. And this is a really useful development tool, but there's the instructions here on how to run it. I followed them exactly and it worked. One thing to call out is a lot like how the stock Eventide components work. There's a settings file. And so you would just need, I'll show it to you, how about rather. So if we come here to the code, is it this 1, 0? Oh no, so I need to go to 8 and then hit next. Which, I can't even tell which. Okay, 2, 3, 4. One of these is where I actually ran this thing. That's a component. Okay, here's the deal. I am going to close down all these windows that we are not currently working in right now because this is getting out of hand. So let's close that one, and then whichever one this is, by the identity component we're not working in right now. What do we have here? User credentials aggregator. We're not working in it right now. I can always open a window another time. And which one is this? This is the Eventide one. So when we look at Eventide code, relative paths test, I'm going to just exit out of that. We'll come back to that later. Docs, this is for the Eventide documentation because I released a ground-breaking PR that changed the characters AM to AN. Right, so video tutorials we will be using what's here in 7. This is the one I was looking for. This is where I pulled down Aaron's MessageDB viewer. And what I was trying to say was, in the settings file here, there is a message store postgres.json.example, and I just made a copy of that. And on my machine, I'm running MessageDB on 5433. That was like the least interesting introduction leading up to the main event here, which is, no, not that, it's this. So what the MessageDB viewer does is, let me make sure that is still completely visible on the screen. But here, I think there is quite a bit that gets stored in the URL there, but let's take it from just the start here. So when you pop in here, what this is doing is, first of all, it's mostly a development tool. I don't know the specifics, but I think that what it's actually doing under the hood runs some queries that you wouldn't want to run on a production MessageDB instance. But what it will show is the last, I think it goes up to 25 streams that are in the message store. So this would have been, I wish I had been using this from over the past 2 weeks. But if we go to table plus, right, this is the message output from running the two components together as of where we got at the meetup last night. But so we can see here, like, there's this composite stream right here, but let's start with the composite command stream. So this add, what it's going to do is add it to the view. So I click add and I can see all the messages in there. Okay, great. There's just the one. Well, now let's toss in the composite event stream right here. And so what you can see here is build went to initiated. So it's following that metadata chain to show us that initiated resulted from that. These retrieved, we don't see the causation stuff yet because they were caused by stuff that happened in the device video component. But we can see that this retrieved is what triggered this built right here. And then when these got handled, we just would have been like, oh, you know, we haven't built it yet. Yeah, we'd probably normally see it here, but we did some stopping of the stream to make sure everything was working. But then we can see the device video commands here. So this, for the purposes of the meetup last night, I reverted it back to before we had put in the fix for the retrieve sent events. Not the fix for them, but they were the fix for making sure we didn't double send the retrieves. So that's why we see these duplicate ones in here. But we can see using that causation metadata chain, the viewer is able to show us like, oh, this event caused all of those. And then we can see the snapshots in there. Now they're not caused by any particular message. Like, I guess you could stretch it and say whichever the last one that got projected before that threshold was hit that caused the snapshot to be recorded. But we don't have causation data on them because they're not really caused by that one. They're caused by everything. So we can add the the device video streams. And so now what we can see here is the entire flow of the messages there. And so as you're, oh, hey, SB Ditto, good to see you. Just going through the message DB viewer that we actually fired up at the meetup last night and showing how useful that is in a development scenario. So as you're working on stuff, as you're running things locally, you can fire this up. It just worked straight out of the box and get this visualization, which I think is really nice. I have in the past worked on, well, I guess in the book, we kind of had the startings of this. This one like is live querying the message store to get this stuff, which in a production scenario may be an issue. In the book, we developed one that does this via aggregation. So there are some consumers, although they're not called that in the book code, they're subscriptions that take the events and like aggregate out what's every category we've ever seen, how many messages are in that category, that kind of stuff. So I think tooling like this is really helpful, and we're just starting to see the first bit of that tooling emerge like this. And it's exciting to me because I think that removes a lot of friction from the development process. And then also, as one of the attendees last night pointed out, you can also click on a message and then see its data, the various attributes in there, and then the metadata as well. So super useful tool. It is right here. I'm trying to think what's the best way to link this. I think I need to put it in the chat here. So I got to go to the other computer. Aaron Jensen, GitHub. I have a really weird angle here to touch this keyboard. Message DB viewer. There we go. Of course, you can't see anything I'm doing here right now, but I'm going to grab this and hopefully the Twitch chat doesn't bar me for posting a URL. I guess it's Nightbot that would do that. Cool. I didn't get barred for it. There's a link to the message DB viewer. Neat. All right. So just wanted to show that off. And in fact, ooh, I've got that open in Brave. Let's move that over here to this Opera browser, because that's the one that I'm going to be using in the long run. So we'll just have that running, and that will be part of our tooling as we work through this. So we can close that, and then all of these. And then, so where we are, unfortunately, is that there was that stuff that was breaking at the end of the day on Wednesday, I think it was, and I was sad about that. So let's go fix that. Get status. I'm going to check out everything here. We at the meetup last night, we hand coded bit of coding is done that way. But as a group, we implemented the transform protocol and got the snapshots working correctly. Good discussion. We'll get that video up again, like I said. But I want to back out what we did. And I totally don't remember. Oh, I think it's get checkout master. There we go. Okay, so now we're back into that weird. Want to see a sweet git commit message. Whip. Good stuff. Work in progress because I didn't trust stash. No one else is pulling the code down. It wasn't going to automatically get deployed in that state. So that's what we have going there. So let us figure out what was going on. I think the tests were running. Yeah, the tests all passed, but there was some strange crash we were seeing when actually trying to run the component, and I am not content with that being the case. So turn the message store back on just in case this running is part of it. Let's get it going, and then we'll start the composite component there, and let's go ahead and write that triggering command that we have. Triggering command triggered me. I didn't like seeing the error. And then I'm going to close all of that because Vim will start saying, hey, this changed since the last time. So are you sure you want to do that? So let's see here. We run that. Wait, is it not crashing? I want it to crash. What's going on here? Hey, if only there were a way to see what messages are in the message store. Oh, look at this. Oh, can't be found. What's going on? Oh, because when I turned the database off, it probably crashed. Yep. All right, let's run that again. And then come back here, reload this. Nothing. What is going on here? Oh, I opened the composite video. That was, I did not write. There we go. Here's the thing we're looking to write. Careful when you press up and enter in a terminal window. All right, so get that, kicks it. What? It finished. That all? Oh, maybe it was when we reran things that was crashing. I don't remember what triggered the issue. So let me do this again. There we go. Okay, there was the issue. So when we rerun this, we're getting a problem. And as is typical for me when it's the end of the stream, I get all like, uh-oh, not going to fix this in 30 seconds. Bye. We have some time now. Let's get into it and fix it. So we're getting an expected version error. Okay, so wrong expected version. Because why are where are we getting this? Well, let's just dive in. Where is the line where it's happening? Let's see here. Where are, oh, right, further down, because we need to see where. Here we go. In the device video events handler, that's where the problem is. Well, I don't know, that's where the problem is. That's where the call is happening that leads to the error, but the problem might have been introduced earlier. So let's get to the bottom of this. And I don't know, I think this is useful content. How do you debug when something goes wrong? First step is you remember what stinking line number it was, and instead of having to go back and find it again. There we go. It's that one right there. Line 43. 43. Okay, right. It's at the right call. Where else could it be? So we are handling the retrieved event. So when the device video component, when it tells us, okay, here is the thing, we do a projection with a version, but for some reason, when we write it with the wrong expected version. That's a surprising result to me. Let's add all these back in here real quick. Does anything look out of whack here? I can't tell anything just from looking at that right now. So I'm really happy that the issue manifested itself again. So what I want to do is, first of all, let's see if it will happen again if I just restart. Great. Okay, so that's consistent. And is it again at that line 43? Yes, that shows up in there again. Okay, so same place. That's good. I'm going to add a binding.irb right before the right here. And see what version we're getting back for the entity. So right there. And then what is the version? So you are trying to write this at version 14. I'm going to go to the message store for it. So let's make that. Where'd you go, Table Plus? Go, there we go. Okay, so the position column, maybe let's try to use the viewer here actually. So we are projecting this stream, and these are ordered by position and global position, so that's useful. And if we come all the way here, where did all of these additional retrieve sents come from? I think we might have an idempotence issue. Oh, wait a second. Wait 1 second. Oh no, I'm thinking of a note I took myself for work. So initiated, retrieve sent, retrieve sent, retrieve sent. We're seeing more of them here, which means that the idempotence is broken there. Writing those is not working as expected. So that's what we've got to debug. And so what I think is happening is we have these two different consumers running and both projecting the same stream. And so what can happen is the consumer for this one projects the stream, gets an expected version, and between when it has projected that stream and it's right, the thing producing the retrieve sent is writing a retrieve sent, so that when the other one goes to write its message, we get an expected version error. So like, wow, this is very different than how I would expect it to be operating. I swear we just wrote all the code for this. I don't know why it's not working. So, well, I guess the tests, oh, sorry. Let's get rid of that binding right there and rerun this. The tests claim they're running. Okay, so let's look at them. I think the first step is going to that initiated handler. So test automated, handle events initiated. We've got the 3 here. So let's look at our, well, we know this one works because we're writing the things. So let's look at the ignored test and look at that in conjunction with the handler that's there. So we do have the check there. So why is that not working? Also, I'm going to take my jacket off because it's really warm in here. And I will do the very classy move of just tossing that on the floor for right now. All right, this one is kind of a doozy. So if we look at our ignored test, we get an initiated example of the event. So that's the event that we're going to be handling here. We pull out some identifiers that we'll need to do other things later. We get the retrieve client, which is the one that DeviceVideo component provides for us to actually send these commands. we get our composite, which is partially requested. And the idea there was that for this one, we've already sent the sent command, or the retrieve command has been sent, and we've recorded a retrieve sent for it. Sorry, my scatterbrain just said, did we flesh out the projection properly? Oh, we have retrieve sent. Okay, so it's not that. It may end up being that, but I was just hoping there is some really obvious thing that we could have looked at there. Is this really in the state that we expect it to be, such that the test is valid? Don't know. So how did we make that one? So let's look at partially requested. So we start with an initiated example, and we get the first 2 start minutes in there, and then we're going to mark one of them retrieve sent, meaning that all we've done is send that command down, and the other one we mark as fully retrieved, because also in that case, we wouldn't want to send the retrieve command again. So the last minute of that would not have been retrieved. So let us, don't want to run the whole suite. Test automated handle events initiated ignored. Let's look at our composite here. So retrieved minutes, the first one is marked sent retrieve, and then the second one is marked retrieve. So that looks like what we expect that to be like. I think what would be interesting is to, instead of looking at the test in the handler when it's running, what does the composite that we fetch from the store look like in that case? So let's drop this in here, and then I don't want to blow away the database that time, so let's restart it. Make sure we can see, yep, we've got all of these messages that we're not supposed to have in there, and then go ahead and start this component. There we go. Okay, so we are in the initiated handler, and what does the composite think here? Interesting. Why is that lowercase? And does that make a difference? Huh. So source URIs is there. This thing thinks it's all done properly. And then there are different representations here. Oh, fascinating. I wonder if there's a strange thing going on with the snapshots and the serialization code. Maybe it's trying to recase the keys here. Right, because the keys are typically like you're going to write them as in Ruby with snake case keys. But when it puts things into the message store, it wants to camel case all of that stuff. So we could verify that. Let's go to the database here and have a look at one of these recorded events. So entity data ID URI built device. Notice, yes, device ID is, but that would be weird for that to happen inside of an array, whatever. Those get converted. If we look at the retrieved minutes, no, those all look correct. Like that doesn't have the weird casing in there, but something's happening somewhere. Retrieved minutes is a hash though, not an array, right? So these keys might be getting converted back to camel case or something when we pull them back out. and then being in that weird casing when we reserialize them. So let's look at some later recorded events. What does it look like down on this one? I'm really hoping that's what's going on here. But those, that looks as it ought to. Oh, no, here we go. Here's where we start seeing, oh yes, what am I thinking? The dashes are removed there. And they're not supposed to be removed because are they supposed to be removed? I'm just having a complete major brain freeze on what an ISO 8601 string is supposed to look like. Do they have dashes in them? According to my example here, they are supposed to have dashes. But when those get serialized as a hash, I bet they're getting recased. That's unfortunate. Because how could we deal with that? I suppose if we just took the hash and turned it into a string ourselves, so that to the snapshotting mechanism it looks like it's a string instead of a hash, it wouldn't do any conversion, and then we would just manually parse it back into a hash ourselves. I really think that's what's going on. How would I verify that assumption? Could look at the entity snapshot code, peek into there and see if it runs the keys through the casing. But are there values that I could give it so that this wouldn't happen? I suppose. Well, the capitalization, I don't know how to change that. I mean, I can change capitalization here, but why is it recapitalizing it? Is it because it sees the capital letter that's a word boundary? I bet the casing is what's going on here. Let's look at the event type code. Why not? Did I close that one? I did. That wasn't the one to close. Well, let's fix it. Event type. CD event type. There we go. And entity snapshot should be in here. Entity snapshot Postgres. Great. Which one of these? Is there a separate entity snapshot module? Well, I guess we could just look in the post. Which one of these are we including? Oh, Postgres would be that one. So when we put something in there, you know where stream it goes to, transform write raw data entity. So let's find that transform if we can. So I'm going to mark that. I'm actually going to split this one so that we can look at this file in two places. And no, there's no transform right there. Is that maybe defined someplace else? Well, clearly it's defined someplace else if it's running, or is that's the one we put on the class ourselves, isn't it? Right, because we don't include this thing on our class unless the schema data structure includes this, but I don't think that would be the case. Let's go back to our code real quick and look at the entity store. Entity snapshot Postgres. Yeah, so we're not including this on our class. Let's rule that out. It might be happening in these. I'm not sure where, if there is a casing issue where that would be happening, but so we get the ID, the entity, the version, and the time. We're going to run the transform on the entity and get back the data and make a message store data write. Include the entity data on that, and then make the type recorded. Oh, so we're not dealing with an actual message class. How could we? Because the keys and the entity data are variable. And then we're going to write that and return the position. Yeah, I think the casing issue would be happening when we go to do the write here, because Eventide stores everything in the message store as camel case, which is idiomatic for JSON. But Ruby wants to be serialized. So part of that writing process, I'm almost positive, is dealing with the casing. So that right there is a message store Postgres put. So let's have a look at message store Postgres put. And so when we go to call, here we hit this, destructure message. Is that where it happens? So let's see here first. We pull out the relevant things there and then return them separately. So no, it's not there. So maybe it's in this insert message, transformed data. That's promising. So what is transformed data? Where is that? Oh, just passed it. So if it's a hash and empty, set it to nil. Unless data is nil, transformable data, message data hash, transform right. So what does that look like? So if we go to transform, that pops up a lot in here. I don't want to lose this line, so let's mark that in Vim real quick. And I guess we can look for module transform. Nope, not there. Let's go back to that mark. Where is this transform? Oh, that's a class that exists somewhere. Maybe that's on message store. Let's see. Version, get log message data. What? We're in put. So a put class here. I feel like I'm just like heads down this whole time staring at this. So you popped in and you just see a head looking down. Sorry, trying to talk through what I'm thinking and investigating here. Hopefully that is working. But this transform right, where does that come from? Is there like a default transform? It may be this one. I love Ruby. It is not always clear where imported code comes from. So module right does have a self.call on it, so it might very well be this. But let's see, transformer reflection, raw data. Oh boy, I don't know what this stuff is here. Oh, that's where it's looking to see if there is a transformer on the thing. So, I'm guessing this would be defined on the message data then, which would be in message store where message data is defined. Yeah, here we go. So let's have a look at here. Well, that's clearly not it. Message data hash transform. Look at that. Instance and raw data. Casing camel. Boom. Okay. So if a hash is being written, which it is, it's going to go through and recase it. So it's messing up the strings, the time strings that we're using. I am almost positive that's the issue at this point. So I think the solution to that is don't serialize it as a hash. So if we come back to our composite entity here, retrieved minutes is a hash right there. Clearly defined as one. And so if we come down to our transforms, we are just letting the raw transform happen here. And instead what we want to do is convert that to a string. So that I want to test for. So let's close that and come down to our composite tests. And we do have a transform test already here, so they're already in place. And let's look at the raw data one. So given an instance, we want the raw data from it. Our composite example here, would it even have any retrieved minutes on it? I don't remember. So let's go have a look. And our example one does not have it. So I don't want that to be the example then. Let's pick a different one. This partially requested one would be perfect for our purposes. So I think the partially requested one, believe it or not, I'm not just saying this to be lazy. I think it is a good representation of what one of these would look like kind of out in the wild. So we could just say partially requested dot example and then get rid of all of this. Does that need something? It does not. If it doesn't get the composite ID initiated, we'll generate an ID for it. So I think that will work for what we're after. Go ahead and crash. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, so now we have our example composite and we get our raw data. And so now what we would want to assert is that the retrieved minutes, we're looking at that. And so we would want to get the composite or the retrieved minutes off of it. Retrieved minutes equal, well, I mean, the transform isn't going to mutate the raw minutes. I don't think. So let's see what happens here. So what we would want to do, the plan is that the raw data will have the retrieved minutes member on it, but that is now going to be a string instead of a hash. So what we would want to do then is say parsed retrieved minutes, set that equal to json.parse. I think that's what it is. It's been a while. json.parse. What is a JSON? You have to require something? I don't remember. Let's see, Ruby JSON parse here. Well, that's interesting. Okay, you've got to require JSON. So if we require JSON, then we get JSON.parse. Great, and I didn't pass it anything, so it didn't like that. That's fine. That's good. This test, though, will need to have that, so we'll hit require. Oh, man. Single quotes. Amateur hour. Just kidding. If you use single quotes, that's fine. So parse retrieved minutes equals json.parse raw data retrieved minutes, like so. Great. And now we would want to assert that the parsed retrieved minutes is equal to the composite.retrieved minutes with hashes. Last night at the meetup, I learned that when you do an equals equals on an array, it actually compares the members of it. With a hash, I don't know if that's the case. If it does like check that it's all the same keys and that they have the same values, or if it's, is this literally the same in-memory object? I don't know. So I guess here's what we could do. We could go find out. So if we had A equals A1, and then this is going to be a B equals A1. Boy, that's not confusing. So if we look at A, is it A dot ID? No, it's A dot object ID. Okay, and B dot object ID. Why does that keep resizing? I'm going to blow this window up real quick. So those are clearly not the same object. Do they equal one another? They do. Okay, great. So it's checking to see that the keys and whatnot match. If I then go to B and I say B at B equals 2, Now they're false. Okay, good. That's fantastic. So I think that means that the way this assertion is written, that will actually work. Okay, so now we run the test and it will fail. I think because JSON parsing a Ruby hash, that's not the secret to success there. So composite and transform raw data. Fail for me, and fail because I didn't pass you a string. No implicit conversion of hash into string. Fantastic. That's what I wanted to see. So we don't want the control anymore. Let's go to the actual thing here. Now in our raw data, if we do that, that's fine. We just need to come down here then and say raw data at retrieved minutes. Instead of what you already are, what we want you to be is, we want a string from you. So we'd say, I think, instance dot retrieved minutes, and that's not right. There would be underscore. You are a hash. I think we can just do 2 JSON on you. Let's double check that before we run it. If we had that lovely a there, can we say a.to JSON? Boo, what if we require JSON? Does that change it? It does, look at that. Okay. So, with that being the case, we know that we will need to also require JSON up here. I think the test will pass now. Let's try it. Didn't pass. Okay, fair. Why did it not pass? So let's see, our parsed retrieved, what? Oh, I see. It didn't autocomplete the way that I thought it had. There's our parsed retrieved minutes. And then we are comparing that to composite.retrieved minutes. I really don't like the way that autocomplete thing makes things disappear. Interesting. Okay, so we then furthermore need to convert the values to symbols, or not have stored them as symbols. The reason I like them as symbols is that's a faster comparison than a string comparison. You'd have to actually go down the whole string. Whatever. Make the backgrounded tmux again. I swear, one of these days I will actually change that binding, and when I do, it's gonna mess me up forever. Not forever, for a long time, until I finally adjust to the fact. Anyway, sorry, that's neither here nor there. So the trouble is that when we parse them back from the JSON, we need to go through and set all of the values to the symbol version of them. So what I don't want to do is write that code in the test and in the transform over here. So I'm thinking what we could do is, instead of just raw JSON parsing it like that, we could just build another instance of the composite in the transform and be like composite2 equals composite.build from the raw data. So let's go ahead and immediately deserialize it, or could write that as code someplace else, like maybe make it another method on the transform module there that we could just leverage in the test. Kind of like that more. That seems a little gross. So if we had like, we already have this. So instead of JSON.parse that, what I would like to do is grab composite transform dot parse retrieved minutes. So we're looking for that. And now the test should fail. Did I put a binding? Okay, I removed that because we don't have that transform method on there. No method, undefined method. Great, that's what we want. So then we can come down here and say self parse retrieved minutes, like so. And then we would need to get those retrieved minutes. And is that so much a parsing of it or symbolize them? That's what we're doing. We're going to mutate the array and convert those string values to symbol values. So I think that's a better name for it. So, parsed retrieved minutes. What do we want to call that? That's like the retrieved minutes, the deserialized. Let's call it that. I think that's better. And then from here, this would be the symbolize those retrieved minutes, passing in raw data retrieved minutes. Okay, great. And then this name would have to change to serialized retrieved minutes and delete. Oh, that is like so. There we go. And now we can come fill this out here. So the idea is that we're going to get, what are we going to get here? No, parse was right. Because they won't yet be a hash by the time that we get them. We're going to do all of that in here. So let's just reset all of that back to parse. Parsed. Because I'm thinking the flow here is we get the raw data and then we'll do another line here that's like retrieved minutes and set that equal to the result of calling that. We won't JSON parse it up here and then have to symbolize the keys after that. Let's just do that in one shot. So we're parsing the retrieved minutes, or maybe it's deserializing them. That's what we're doing. Deserialize retrieved minutes. And that would be in the past tense. Deserialized. And then this would become deserialize. Like so. So first step would be to just get the parsed equals JSON.parse those retrieved minutes. I see I have that incorrect character there. I'll go back and fix that in just a second. Like so. Oh, I don't like the short name there. Variable names are not the thing to like save keystrokes on. I don't think. That's my opinion. So now we've got this hash. We'll have a hash now with the keys we were expecting, but their values are strings. So we just need to go through and convert all of those values. So I wonder if that's like a pattern that's already baked into Ruby. So Ruby turn hash values into symbols. Maybe there's a, I can spell it right. Best way to convert strings to symbols in hash. Transform keys. Not the keys. I want to transform the values though. Is there a transform values? Ruby hash. Transform. Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. So I love this language. So what we could then just return is parsed retrieved minutes dot transform values. And I don't remember the syntax that we saw in the Stack Overflow there. That warrants a little bit of explanation there, or at least as best as I understand what happens there. So we're basically saying that transform values wants a block. We go to there it takes a block. This, I think, basically what it does is it makes a block that receives whatever the value for the iteration is, and then calls this method on the thing. So the equivalent to that would be if we had written something like v.toSim. It's just a nicer way to do that. I think that will now pass the test. It did. Fantastic. Okay. Really happy about that. 3 minutes. I really want to get this done, so I might go slightly over today. Sorry if that interferes with anybody. So let's come down here and grab our instance test. And our raw data example, we need to change this. So controls composite transform, that's right here. And our retrieved minutes isn't actually going to test anything for us. So that's okay. It would be a string, and we need to put a 2002. The particular time here doesn't actually matter. And then that would map to a string like sent receive, like so. So this is supposed to represent what we got back from the database. And with the change that we just made in the raw data method, we are turning that into a JSON string. And so that's what we would fetch back from the message store at that point. So I think that's the right change to make there. That will show that we're actually doing stuff. Oh, see you, SB Ditto. Thanks for stopping by today. Where are we? Right, okay, so with that in place then, let's come back down to our test. We get the raw data, and we're gonna clone that because I wanna make sure we aren't mutating stuff, because we do mutate it. We set the raw data to a collection array, and we need to know what that initial array was. I think, what do I think here? So given the string, we need to convert it to, we need to parse and symbolize the retrieved minutes there. Suppose we could just like kind of hand code this. So test retrieved minutes. And then what we want to assert is that the instance retrieved minutes. I kind of like doing it this way, retrieved minutes. I think that will be a nicer assertion. And the way that we would get those is, right, we can just call the method right there. So we could say retrieved minutes is equal to, we're just replicating what goes on in the code at that point, but I think it's fine. That means that we're actually calling it. So composite transform dot deserialize retrieved minutes and pass in the raw data retrieved minutes like so. And now we want that to run successfully. We got a name error. Oh, it transforms. No, it's it is in fact singular. And what we get here, of type string cannot be assigned to attribute retrieved minutes of type hash. Great, that's what we wanted to see. So then we can just pop here into the actual instance method and run the deserialize retrieved minutes on raw data. No, retrieved minutes it would be. like so. Boom. I think that solves it. So let's run the component again. Oh my dear goodness. There we go. Okay, so this time I do want to blow it away. And we can go ahead and drop that command in there. We can start this component. Oh, I left the binding in there. Oh, and I closed the window. That was a mistake. Okay, I guess we're over here now. So let's see, we're in do expensive, no, such software, do expensive things once. Composite component. Not going to hit enter that time. And where did we put that? That's probably in the handler here. Right there it is. Get rid of that binding.irb because that's garbage. Not garbage. It's just not what we want right now. And we can start this component, come back here. And what do we have in the message store at this point? Build and initiated. That's fine. And let's start it. Everything completes the way we expect it to. Now here's the test. When we rerun this, what happens? Lovely. And I think we should not see any more events when I refresh here. Or messages at all. Bingo. Okay. That was the issue. So good to know. Big find there. If something that you snapshot is a hash, keep in mind that the keys of that hash are going to get run through the casing conversions. And so what we did was we took that hash and serialized it to a JSON string. And so that just meant that in our transform, we needed to do a little bit more work here to then take that string, deserialize it ourselves. And then we had the additional step of having to go and symbolize those keys, because when you serialize a symbol, it just turns into a string with the same characters. But when we JSON parse that back out, it's going to be a string. And I wanted to keep those as symbols because in the entity class, which is this one on the right here, when we are doing these lookups, I think it's a performance difference to do a string comparison versus a hash comparison. Although, Ruby hash key of string, I may be off my rocker on there. How to create hash with string keys by default. No, what I'm curious about is when you do the string comparison, I think you have to go character by character. Ruby string comparison. Does it actually go character by character? So Ruby has a built-in method called equal. If the values are equal in both length and content, returns true if the compared values are equal. And then there's the equal if they're literally the same object. And Ruby dash or double equals, is that equal or equal? Refer to the same hash key. For objects of class object, it's synonymous with that. Subclasses normally continue this tradition by aliasing it to their overridden equals method, but there are exceptions. Numeric types, K. Okay, so the double equal sign is equivalent to this one, which makes sure that they're the same. So Ruby string equal, how is that actually implemented? Can we tell? Yeah, okay, I'm not going to dive into that anymore. I think that it actually compares character by character, which would take longer than just checking the one value, but let's call it there. That's good. So that is now functioning properly. And let's make sure we didn't introduce any sort of weird character stuff. Change that. Oh, wait a second. We can't quite commit yet. Does the whole test suite still run? It does. Okay, now we can commit. So git add, and I want to actually git commit amend. I don't want that to be work in progress. I don't remember what our last commit message was. So git log, the one prior to that, it applies retrieve sent, concurrency safe, retrieve handler is idempotent. So retrieved minutes are manually serialized. That's what we'll say. And push, oh, we need to force push that, which is the best kind of push that there is. What? You're not allowed to force push code to a projected branch on this project. Oh, I'm not, am I? This is now the like super interesting portion of the stream today. That's a really good rule to not allow force pushing to master, by the way, but I'm going to do that instead of not doing it. You know what though? I'm on the stream there. I'll do this off the stream. But hey, thanks for stopping by, everybody. Some more great learnings on how snapshots work. So that's pretty exciting. I am going to make sure to remember that and use that and share that knowledge as much as possible. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll catch you back on Monday. Happy coding.